AI, if you're not using it,
AI.
you're falling behind.
And this is why it's really important to be able to think critically. And if you don't know how to do that, ask ChatGPT. I mean, yeah, what AI? So, and for those of you that don't know, Steve has a penchant to find new things regularly. And I don't know how he manages to do that. So today's episode, we're going to have Steve
Rabbit hole, bro.
share some of his new tech finds as it relates to how to make your life easier, and we'll kick those back and forth. And the main thing that I think is really important in this episode is that AI is definitely becoming a little more mainstream. People are definitely adopting it more. Oddly enough, for more like Google search / like meme generation stuff is what I've seen. But when it comes to business and actually how to think about integrating AI, I think it's important to understand what tools exist currently. We did an episode about 6 months ago in October of 24 that we talked about the basic ones. And so the idea today is just to revisit some of that, update you guys on some of the new things, and then share a couple other things that have emerged since that we've discovered as well. Things like Napkin and other odds and ends that'll make your life a little bit easier when you're putting stuff together. Huh?
I love Napkin for visuals. Like when you're explaining processes, it is.
Wait! Don't give away! Don't give away!
I'm excited.
This is the last thing.
I'm excited about it.
It's definitely a game changer when it comes to presentations and stuff like that. So stick around. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you hit that subscribe button real quick, and let's jump on in. So, Steve,
AI. If you're not using it,
AI.
You're falling behind.
If you're not using it, you're losing it.
If you're not using it, you're going to lose it. No, 100%. And I mean, I think I am 100% serious about that statement. I guess maybe we start there. Like, if it is something you're not leveraging, you are likely falling behind from an output perspective.
Yeah.
But there's still such a difference of like reliance and it doing the work versus it helping you and assisting create the outcomes that you're already working on, right? Like, I still stand by, if AI is doing all the work and you find like, okay, I'm done with my work in 2 to 3 hours in a day, I'm just going to be lazy and not do anything else, you're missing the point, right? Like, don't bring your 8-hour workday down to a 4-hour workday with AI. Get 16 hours worth of work done in 8 hours is the way that you should be looking at it. And maybe the right answer is get like 14 hours work done in 7 hours and you work 1 hour less or something. But don't have it do all the things, because it is AI. It's not a human. It is not you. It's not perfect no matter how much you train it and all the things. There is still stuff there, but yeah, there's so many platforms today. You can go on and just, hey, I need AI for this thing, and Google that. You can ask AI the same thing. It'll give you all the answers, and there's going to be a lot of options out there. A really fun one that I got introduced to, it's probably been about 4 months ago or so now at this point, is Napkin.ai. When it comes to presentations or like process-based drawings, step 1, step 2, step 3 and whatnot, it does a phenomenal job of drawing that out and giving you the ability to kind of change the way it looks, change the display. The export functionality on there is fantastic. Like if you're building an ebook and it's a process-based ebook, like again, step 1, 2, 3 type stuff, you can literally convert it to a PDF and it'll print it out for you and you're ready to rock and roll. You can type in it, so you got everything going on there. So I really, really enjoy that one. You want to know the best thing about Napkin.ai? Andrew, you know this answer, which still blows my mind. Do you know what I'm going to say? No. It's free. It's free. It does a phenomenal job and it's free. They say for now in beta, so I'm sure at some point in time it won't be free. But if that thing's like $20 a month, 100% worth it if you have to do process stuff. So I'm thinking application-wise for a coach, the great opportunity here is building your ebooks and the things that you're putting out there for people, those guides and whatnot that we use, but also as you're trying to explain what your unique mechanism is, the flow in which the way you bring people through your coaching program, step 1, step 2, step 3, stuff like that, whatever your framework might be. that's going to be a really great tool to just kind of visualize what you have going on. To create the same visuals in Canva, I mean, I'm not that creative, so they look bad, but it takes me like a day. Napkin.ai for the same exact thing takes me like 18 seconds. So it's just, from that perspective, I thoroughly enjoy it. I know, Andrew, you use it a lot for presentations and everything now, right?
If I have something that I need to visualize, which for the most part, and to give the audience here like a frame of reference as to why that's so important, we know that most people are going to have a visual aspect to learning and they like to see stuff. And so if you're one of those coaches and you don't know that this happens, chances are you were over explaining things and people are just getting glossy eyed and they're getting bored and they have no idea what the heck you're talking about. And the problem with that isn't necessarily the explanation and everything else. It's the fact that your client or your prospective client doesn't understand how to ask the question for you to clarify that. Or frankly, they just don't care. So having a picture that shows people exactly what the process looks like as it unfolds is really important when it comes to visual design. Now, historically, you could have used things like PowerPoint, which I've done, and it's a mess. Like you take a shape, you go into the shapes thing, you drag it in there, and let's say you have like a process hierarchy, like you want to have an organization chart. Who's the CEO? Who's the CFO? Who's the COO? Who are the managers? Yada, 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 who are the department heads? Like that process, you can very much do that in Canva. You can do it in PowerPoint. You can do it in, Google presentations, I think. And so when you're thinking about that stuff, the last thing you want to do is as you're typing everything out, as you're trying to explain it, as you're writing out your scripts, is then take your word brain and make it a picture brain. And so what Napkin AI does is you effectively type in a description or you can drop in a script or whatever it is, and it will take that and it will use the artificial intelligence component to do its best to approximate a visual that fits that specific thing. And so, if you go to our website, beyondthepump.com, what you'll see is that if you go into our education stuff, a lot of our visuals on there are admittedly from Napkin AI. Now, there's a couple cool functions on there that you need to be aware of as well, is that you can take your branding and your colors and you can actually use that because it'll give you some goofy fucking colors. It'll be like, here's a purple, red, yellow. You're like, what? Like this, what? And so now, you have to historically, and this was most recent, I'd say probably like 4 weeks ago, I found this out, but I had to take it, put it in Canva and then recolor it. And like, it's just a little bit of a step. Granted, it's still much better than having to go in, take each shape, add text to it, change the color of the shape, and then finagle it. So like, it's exactly, symmetrical. God, I wanted to just throw myself in front of a bus. So something like Napkin AI, it can't do the thinking for you, which is why I think that much similar to our original position, 6 months ago, AI is great, but at the same time, you don't want to forget how to dig holes, right? You don't want to, that just will effectively reduce your ability to be creative. So the more you rely on AI in any sense, the more you're going to be dependent upon it. And that's where you inherently become less valuable because you now can no longer solve complex problems because you lose the ability to think. And so that's where, again, understanding there is a double-edged sword of this. Great tool, great resource for people that have a great understanding in a topic domain or are very good at problem solving. Not great for people that aren't great at those things and become reliant. And that's where AI is going to subsume a lot of those jobs and roles because it takes a lot of the ability to be somewhat creative, but across a large volume of work. So when talk about things like Napkin AI, it won't replace the creativity from like, here it is, but it can help you with that, visualize it. And so, also some other things have emerged in the last couple months here. And I'd say last couple months, but last 6 months or so. And something that OpenAI has rolled out is something called Operator and Tasks. And those are some things that can really make your life easier. So Steve, do you want to tell the audience a little bit about those?
Yeah, so out of the gates, to overly simplify the difference between those two, Operator is about 10 times more expensive, and it is something that will literally open up its own web browser and go in and click buttons, and it can type things into boxes. It can open up a Google Sheet and put information in from research it's doing. So it literally is an AI agent, so to speak. is what they're being
Mm-hmm.
called, and it'll actually do work. Now, the thing about that is it only does the work as well as you can prompt it to do the work.
Mm-hmm.
And we all know how much massaging, as we say, goes into basic AI of trying to get it to give you the output that you want. The same thing goes into Operator. And there's a couple of other AI agents out there, so it's not the only one, it's just the one that we've used. Now, tasks, just for the differentiation, tasks, it can set up things that are repetitive. So, what I mean by that, like for me, every morning at 9 a.m., one of my tasks that AI does or OpenAI does is it gives me a market brief on what's going on for my day trading that I do. And I just get that every single day. I gave it my structure and it gives it to me, feeds it. I don't have to necessarily go in and do that research myself. It's taking something that's accessible from the internet, putting it into the format that I said, and then just visual, like kind of sending it back in text to me. It's not typing buttons in, it's not doing work per se. It's just taking stuff that it can already do and remembering to do that every morning at 9 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
So those are kind of the differences there. Tasks is included with the pro version of OpenAI's kind of Chat GPT in general, where Operator is in, again, 10 times, it's $200 a month versus $20 a month. So
Mm-hmm.
that's your main difference. But tasks, I feel like, can definitely be a game changer for people, especially when it comes down to just productivity side of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we talked about automation here recently, and it's like, what are the things that I repetitively do every day?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, Andrew, a great task for you, I would imagine, out of the gates would be having it go in every day or once a week or whatever time frame is appropriate and look at wherever you go. And Andrew makes fun of me for finding new stuff. Meanwhile, Andrew's like, oh yeah, there's a new study out that just got published 18 minutes ago about these things. And it's like, Andrew finds new stuff too in new studies. Okay. So I'm not the only one. Just going to say that. But I would go in and see if you can get ChatGPT tasks to basically come up and serve up any kind of new, you know, IDs, PM IDs of new things that come out and new studies or whatever, and give you a quick synopsis. So that way you can maybe save time or you get alerted to when something new is there, right? Seeing if it can do something like that. So if you're like Andrew and you spend 40 hours a week trying to find new studies to reference, that's a way to save some time. So you and your coaching, let's say you're a functional health coach and you like to follow certain organizations or things that are going on, there might be tasks that can be set up when they come up with new research about gut health and the things that are going on and a new whatever, that when that happens it can deliver to you a nice, you know, pop-up notification right on your phone, and all of a sudden
Mm-hmm.
now you see it, right? So tasks are, how do I solve repetitive things and how can it do those? Again, going to keep it basic. It's not building stuff, it's not inputting data, it's not researching or anything on your behalf. It's just delivering you information that was effectively published somewhere else, so to speak, or reminding you to do things or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Operator, it's fun, but as somebody who enjoys AI, it takes a lot of massaging. Great example, Andrew and I have a client. They have a very extensive price list. How many
It's
different
900 plus
things,
items.
Andrew?
It's like 900 plus. I think it's like 946, I think, but
Yeah.
there's some blank spaces in there.
So let's say hundreds, approaching 1,000 different items. And, you know, we asked the question, hey, do you have like a master Google sheet, Excel sheet with all the prices on there? Like, no, but you can go find it on the website. I'm like, all right. And I go to the website and there's literally like 17 sections, a little plus symbol that pops it open to anywhere from like 5 to 30 different pricing listings. And it's like option A, $30, option A1, $40, option A2, $50, option A3, $60, all the way through like option A10. So it's not even like there's option A, B, C. It's like 10 different things of option A, then 14 of B, and then 7 of C. So like, hey, operator, can you go in and literally pull all these prices, put the title, the price, and then what the unit measurement is. Some of it's in minutes, some of it's in hours. So it's like, all right, well, there's 60 minutes in an hour. So I can do the math on the back end. And it goes in and it'll open like 1 or 2 plus signs. And then it's like, all right, cool, I'm done. I'm like, no, there's like 15 more. So then it goes back and it does 1, 2, and 3. And I'm like, no, there's still 14 more. And then it goes back and it does 1, 2, 3, and 4. And it's like, why can't you just do the entire page? So I'm clearly prompting it wrong somehow, some way, but it's definitely a challenge from the massaging side of things for there. At least I've been kind of experiencing that.
Yeah. Well, you've mentioned the term massaging a handful of times, and obviously that's a colloquialism that our audience might not be familiar with. So when you say that, like what do you mean when you say massaging, and why is that something that people should consider?
Trying to break up the adhesions in your iliotibial band. Like you got to massage them out so that way
Not a thing.
you can move better and it doesn't hurt your low back.
Guys, the next episode we're doing is clearly going to be an exercise one, so please listen to that one. Not that.
No, I'm joking. So,
He's
so we've all asked AI a question, anticipating some type of structure of a response, some type of answer. Our first questions were probably questions that were like we probably knew the answer to or something, and we had some expectation of what it was going to give us. And all of a sudden it responded and our expectation, and they were wildly off. Like they didn't meet. So we slowly learn how to re-ask the question, how to be a little more intent driven, to give it more structure, to massage it, to effectively give us the output that we were looking for. So massaging is just really you going back in and asking the question differently, giving it more kind of specificity around it, and ultimately trying to promote or provoke the outcome that you kind of anticipate or you're looking for. I.e., if you say, hey, can you tell me what the temperature is for the next 7 days? And it might report to you, yeah, in Las Vegas, here's the temperature for the next 7 days. And you go, oh, no. I meant, what is the temperature in New Jersey for the next 7 days? And then it'll say, oh, here's the temperature in New Jersey for the next 7 days. Because you as a human make the assumption that just because you're sitting in New Jersey, it'll give you New Jersey, but it doesn't. It just gives you wherever. So that follow-up is the quote unquote massaging process that has to happen. And really it's just bridging the gap between human thinking and computer thinking. Computers, they only know what they know. We make a ton of assumptions because we're humans and we have that reasoning skill that goes on in our brains that when we ask a question, there's 100 assumptions that go along and we go down that road. Think about you meet somebody brand new. They have no idea who you are. They don't know your history. You don't have a relationship established yet. And you ask a question and they give you the wrong answer. And you're like, oh, no. Give them more context. And then they answer it right. It's the same thing. But somebody you have a relationship with, they understand you, they know who you are. The frequency at which they answer the completely wrong question significantly drops because now they learned about you. They know the assumptions that you typically make. They understand the context more because they know your lifestyle, all of those components. It's the same thing. You're building a relationship with AI and you need to learn how to bridge the gap of your thinking to what it can understand and kind of iterate back to you.
Yeah. I mean, and so when you think about the idea of, and this is why it's really important to be able to think critically. And if you don't know how to do that, ask ChatGPT. Here's the reason why it's important to keep your head on your shoulders and not just blindly assume that it's correct. And that exactly what Steve was just saying. There's a mismatch of context. It has all the available information on the interwebs for the most part. And so imagine what happens if you knew, your mom's history, your dad's history, your sister's history, your brother's history, your aunt's history, your grandma's history, your great grandmother's history, your great 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 grandmother's history, what general customer would, and like you're trying to answer a simple question. Like you have too many things that might be going on in your brain. And so it might give you an answer that is drastically or far from what you're looking for. And if you don't have the ability to think through that for a second and take it and be like, what the fuck is it saying? Or have some baseline understanding around a topic or concept, you're probably going to be eventually misled. And that can be very damaging for your professional reputation. So when you take the idea, and this is one of the risks of artificial intelligence, is that let's say that, and we see this all the time, people use this for blog posts. And when you're reviewing a blog post or, you get a newsletter or something like that, and you're taking some time to read through it and you're like, this really just doesn't make sense, or there's just completely wrong facts in there. And those are things that, again, why you need to continue to read, why you need to continue to stay up on your own human produced information sources that you know and can rely on, which is why we produce this stuff. So you guys understand how things work, how things should work, and then when they're not working in that respect, so you can start to check and balance these things. Because this is not just some holy grail that's going to be the fountain of youth forever, like, you know, it's going to be everything you need. No, that's not quite it. And I think in the first episode 6 months ago, I referenced the prophylactic studies that came out, meaning like I was asking it to help me with a paper in my doctoral, like some research paper. Shh, don't tell anyone. Right. I made a C in that class, guys. So I'm telling you, don't rely on that shit. I almost got kicked out of my program for using it. Doesn't work that way. And so if the University of Arizona is listening, I've learned my lesson. I have learned my lesson. Right. This is not an admission of guilt. This is simply a learning concept so that others can learn that it's not everything. But I was typing a paper on like cultural diversity or something like that. And it gives me all these research articles and these synopsis. And the only thing that I noticed that was weird, because I didn't think that it would be inaccurate or wrong, is I went in there and I was reading through it and I was like, okay, cool. Like, this makes sense. So I start crafting this paper. And then as I'm like putting the references in, I'm like, these are kind of weird names. And I'm like, where are these papers produced? And I couldn't find it because naturally it doesn't tell you necessarily the country of origin unless you're like looking at the actual paper. So when it gave me these answers, it gave me like an executive summary, the citation, and then like a PubMed ID link. And I'm like, all right, cool. Like, so I clicked on the link and it took me to something that was like, these are the oral contraceptives of dental dams. I'm like, what the fuck is that? Like, and had I submitted that and had someone had gone through and like looked at the resources and the references, which is part of the peer review process. And that's why it's so important, which, by the way, all scientific literature and all academic papers aren't inherently peer reviewed. They're not always accurate. In fact, there are so many different errors and stuff like that that you can find if you look at people's methods, how they did the studies, how they did the statistics, what they inferred from that. Because at the end of the day, what people will get from a research study is they'll read the abstract, which is more or less a summary, and the conclusion of what the research is supposed to mean, or what they want the audience or the reader to take away, is their bias and their perspective around the information, how it was gathered, and what it says. And so that's why you need to be able to think critically as it comes to looking stuff like AI, because it'll give you some weird shit. If you don't click on it and it doesn't seem weird and you don't have like the ability to have the red flag go up, like, you're going to be at a huge risk of just looking like a jackass. And on top of that, contributing to more misinformation around different topics. So education inherently is not dead yet. It is drastically evolving, but you need to have a firm foundation in terms of critical thinking, which is going to be the most important skill that you can have in 2025 and beyond. It's no longer memorizing facts. What does the aorta do? Which circulation direction does the blood flow go? That's helpful to know, but it's like a nice to have. Thinking, hey, your aorta is not your lungs. Like, that would probably be the foundational critical thinking thing that you need to understand. So if you can't differentiate different organs, like, you're not going to know what something's going to tell you. So that's kind of my little diatribe on AI, and basically just stay woke.
It was we recently kind of soft launched our social growth bot that we had put together. And an interesting thing was, as we're taking a few people through it and building out their pipelines, right? And the whole goal of this bot, there's a singular goal. There's a couple of micro goals, I'll say, but the singular goal is to provoke conversations out on social media with effectively the people that might be interested in purchasing your services because you found that you can help that population. And it does it a couple of ways, and we'll take Instagram as the kind of path. Well, what's a great way to get people on Instagram to follow you and know who you are? Well, see your name pop up in their notifications, right? So how do we do that? Cold DMing, I don't think it's necessarily the best kind of use of time per se. But at the same point in time, if you're sending out a message, and I say like cold DMing, like, this is gonna be a soapbox real quick. I apologize in advance. Cold DMing is one of those like controversial things where everybody's like, oh, you can do all this stuff without cold DMing. And then like, oh, I teach you the cold DMing system and all that shit. Like, here's what cold DMing is. You go to a networking event and you don't know somebody and you walk up and introduce yourself and say hi. It's cold networking. It's cold anything. Because guess what? There's no prior relationship. So the first fucking DM in any direction, the first conversation point in person is cold because there's no prior relationship. So guess what has to happen if you want to meet somebody on the internet? You're gonna have to cold DM them. It's just a fact. So for any of you that are like, I don't want a cold DM, cool. Go be a hermit and never talk to anybody new because the relationship on the side of things is brand new. Stay in your basement. Don't see any sunlight. Don't make any friends. Don't connect with anybody. And then you'll never cold interact with anybody. Okay. Soapbox over.
We can tell you feel passionately about that, Stephen.
It's one of those marketing things that just frustrates me. It's like, you never have to no, you're cold talking to new people all the time if you're trying to help somebody with something. So just get the fuck over it. Okay? That all said.
I should go to a Thai massage parlor.
It's not enjoyable to sit there and send messages to people that have no idea who you are and are likely not going to respond. And the very few people that respond is not going to yield any type of true conversation. But if you walk into a room of people at a networking event in person, a chamber meeting, something like that, a BNI group, you're at a friend's birthday party and you don't know some of the people there. You're at a wedding and you don't know some of the people there. It's all cold interaction. You have to introduce yourself. You're not going to magically get along so whimsically and have all these things in common with every single person. It's just the odds are not there. You guys don't have that many common interests. But on the other side of that, there are a couple of people who you're going to get along with, who you're going to be able to have a continued relationship with, and you're going to go down that road. And that's really the goal of the idea of like, let me reach out and have conversations with people. It feels weird on the internet because there's just less connection built into it. That's the only difference.
Mm-hmm.
But all that, because that was just a complete side tangent.
I hear what we were talking about.
We put together this bot, and the whole goal of the bot is to start to create some relationships. It's a relationship cultivation bot in the beginning. So everybody hears, oh my God, I got to go and cold DM people. It's like, well, yeah, sure. But before we even get there, why don't you try to build a relationship up? Which is see if you can even get them to follow you or maybe accept your friend request on Facebook or any of those things. Well, how do we do that? Let's go out and let's engage with people. Let's follow or friend request them and let's like some of their profile posts. Maybe even let's comment on some things. But guess what? Nobody likes to do it. That's why we don't do it, because it's boring and it sucks and it doesn't feel rewarding. And then on the other side, you get those couple of people who do say yes, they follow you back, they accept your friend request, whatever it might be. Now you have to go and message every single one of those new followers, new friends. And then guess what? People don't want to do that because they're going to send out 100 of those DMs and only 20 or 30 are going to get answered. And I don't know if those 20 or 30 that get answered, you're only going to get into a fruitful conversation on how you can help them, like with 10 of them. And of that, only 5 are going to say yes to hopping on some type of call to be able to have a further conversation. And of those 5, only 1 or 2 are going to actually buy the thing you sell. So it's like, man, I don't want to send 100 DMs to get 1 or 2 people to buy. That kind of sucks. It does suck. But factually speaking, that's how you grow your business on the internet. How do I grow my business without cold DMing? Don't. Go back and be a personal trainer in a gym. Period. End of story. I'm sorry. I love you. But generally speaking, that's the conversation that has to happen.
To be fair, there's nothing wrong with that. Just in case anyone got a slide out of that. There's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong.
We just want to be very clear. There's behaviors that are associated with specific growth trajectories. And if you want to grow online, you need to do online things. If you want to grow in person, you got to do in-person things. That's all we're saying.
100%. I don't mean that to be negative. I mean it to be, I want to do this thing without doing the correlating work is the thing that's frustrating to me. I can help you grow your business inside the gym and online. There's just different sets of work that has to go along with that. The principles are the same, but the actions and tactics are very different. And that's the thing that we have to keep in mind. But Andrew and I got to thinking, we're like, well, nobody likes to do it, but we know the online thing, it's kind of required. It's a part of the game. What if they were able to just push a button and then the thing did it on its own? It's like, whoa, maybe. Lo and behold, we actually have that. Like, that's a thing now, right? That's like the whole goal here is we have this social growth bot. It's on socialgrowthbot.io, and it'll do all the actions for you. Right? So the first big thing of this is it guarantees that it gets done. But here's the crazy thing. It only gets done as good as you or we, because we built some of it, can think about it. So which one do you think is better? Well, I'm going to go cold DM 1,000 people and see how many responses I get. There's no connection. They've never seen my name, nothing. Or do we want to build it so it goes out and it friends and follows people? It likes some of their posts, it engages, so it gets people to engage back with you. And then once you know they are now a connection, be it a follow request or a friend or whatever, you then send a DM to them. Which one do you think you're going to get a higher response from? And that's really where us building this thing, our human brain, comes into play. The first pipelines with the actions that we built out was terrible. Some of the people building it out just wasn't working. Why isn't this thing working? Because you programmed it to do that. It is working. It's doing what you told it to do, but what you told it to do sucks, right? And that's the way we think about when it comes to interacting with AI or interacting with a bot in general. It's only as good as the information we give it. It's only as good as we program it, which for us as humans can be challenging because we think like humans. Every time you think, it's very multi-directional. Robots and computers think 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Simply goes in a direction. Ones and zeros is computer language. On and off, left or right. There are not multi-directions. We think there are because we're humans, but at the very core concept of a AI or a bot thinking, at any given point, it's got two pieces of information. On, off, left, right, 1, 0, whatever you want to compare it to. So when we built this bot out, we're like, all right, we got to do this thing. In order to get that thing to happen, there's something like 20 actions that we actually had to bring it through to now start provoking these conversations to happen with people that you're connected with. And it's a great tool. And it's funny, on this past week on our business development call that we host for everybody empowered, did a training on it. Here's the playbook. Here's what you need to do. I calculated that it costs, or you need to spend somewhere like 15 to 18 hours a week doing all of the actions that you need to do on social media in order to produce something like 4 to 6 maybe new clients a month, right? So perfect world, 15, 16, 18 hours a week. Somebody goes, well, that's like 2 days a week. I'm like, yeah, I know. And then I did some math and like, here's the crazy thing. If you got paid just minimum wage for each of those hours, you're actually wasting nearly $400 a month to get all this stuff done by you doing it. I didn't even like intend for it to happen, but on the other side, the cost of the bot's $250 a month. And it guarantees it happens. You don't get emotional about sending that like weird cold DM or whatever it is. So it's like, oh, hey, we can save you money. I think you think you're worth more than $7.25 an hour anyways. So I'm way underestimating the true cost of time here. And we make sure it gets done. Feels like a win-win. But anyways, here's the manual system. So far departure from AI and like the conversation piece. But as we were programming this and as we were going through it, it was crazy to really see how much these ones and zeros, yeses and nos, correlated into, man, human language and computer language is two very different languages that you have to be very, very critical when you're trying to think and kind of bridge that gap.
Yeah, I think it's really going to highlight the people that are strong communicators and can understand how context is important and how to create that context for someone else, whether it's a human or an agent or an AI model, is really going to be the big distinguishing factor here. So when I say communication or like critical thinking, is going to probably be one of the things that separates the people that are misled versus are able to leverage AI effectively. The other thing that's going to go into that is the ability to communicate clearly and saying like, hey, these are the things I'm looking for. Ask me whatever you need to gain further context. Give me the output. Cool. It gives you the output. Oh, that's not what I'm looking for. Let's massage it. here are the things I want you to change, or here are the things that I want you to consider, or here are the other items that I neglected to mention. And it gives you another output. And then you basically just go through this iterative process, which does require A, you thinking through the problem, and B, also understanding how to use the right verbiage and the right language from or with that specific other party in that conversation, which these skills also transfer into the regular human interaction. And so that's the silver lining here, is that you will absolutely get punished if you are a poor communicator, and you will absolutely get wrecked if you cannot think for yourself. So if you can take anything away from my portion here, is that you need to start thinking through things. Take some time, literally hand write out the things that are going on in your head. That A, write down what you know about them, B, write down the things you don't know, and then take that to AI. And that's really where you're going to gain a lot more benefit from that specific tool. But yeah, I mean, we're brushing up against time here, Steve. So anything that you'd like to leave people with as we wrap up?
Not really. I think I said my piece. I could go back to soapboxing on social or DMs and everything there, but I won't. Um, leverage AI appropriately. Things that you're doing repeatedly, find ways to solve it with AI, with automation. The social media game, hit us up. Would love to share the social growth bot with you, because I think that's going to help a lot of people out. But AI is here to stay. The people using it are going to be able to get more done in the same amount of time as they've always had, whereas people not using it are going to get left behind just because they simply can't get as much done. Don't be the lazy ones that are doing the same amount of work with less time, because you're going to, again, just get left behind. So the only benefit is you might work 2 hours while the other guy's working 8. You're still getting the same amount of work done. That's not going to produce the outcome. But use it wisely. There's new things and updates happening all the time. So find your lane, go do the thing. There's many softwares out there. OpenAI doesn't have to be the thing. They were the
Mm-mm.
first. They were the first one I signed up for. So that's what we tend to use. I think for the same for you, Andrew. But I do use all of the other ones. Like I use Gemini. I use Claude. I use Grok. Like I
You
just
use
mess around with
DeepSeek?
them all.
Use DeepSeek?
I don't
You
use
Patriot, or you
DeepSeek.
just fucking
I don't use
commie? Okay, all
DeepSeek.
right.
That's the only one.
Listen, yeah, DeepSeek came out. That's a Chinese counterpart to OpenAI. Supposedly, it's, that's probably another new platform we neglected to mention on top of Open or Napkin. Um,
I did
but I
play
mean,
with it
there's
for like a day, and the answers it gave me were wildly inaccurate. So I never went back to it. That was the only problem. I should probably give it another chance.
probably gave it to you in Chinese too. Not to say anything, but neither here nor there. So, thanks for listening today, guys. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. And anything else that you need them to do, Steve? Oh shit! Actually, I did forget. We are partnering with a philanthropy that supports autism research. So make sure you click the link below if you want to be involved with that. We do partner with other companies and philanthropies because we're looking to give back to communities. And so if you have something that you would like us to take a look at in terms of social support, please just reach out, comment, shoot us an email, or reach out to us in some form or fashion, and we'll make sure that we get the appropriate audiences in front of the right causes. So we hope that's also something you guys are looking forward to. But all we got.
All right, gang.
Cool.
Hit that like button. Throw some comments if you want us to discuss a topic. Otherwise, we will see you next time.